Greetings, everyone. This is Katrina Khan Roberts, also known as Mertrina, and I'm the creator of the Marine Minded Network here in Trinidad and Tobago. So, welcome to the session. I hope that you all are going to enjoy this, and I want to know how many of you love the beach. Yes, I can imagine because I love the beach as well. But on another hand, I also love mermaids. So as a child, there was a Little Mermaid, there was Splash, there were a few mermaid characters that I just gravitated towards because I thought mermaids were a personification of the ocean. And I also wanted to be a marine biologist. But when I was a child, there wasn't the internet. We didn't really know what marine biology really was. But I just had this feeling that, these mermaids and marine biology would be a big part of my life. So, of course, in my 30s, I decided to become Mertrina the mermaid. And my focus is on ocean literacy. I know most of y'all would not have heard that term before, but we're going to go through a little bit about what it is and then a little bit about how we can protect the ocean through knowing more about it, right? So, Mertrina is a mermaid who lives in Trinidad and Tobago, and I have some books coming out soon. That's a whole other story, though. So, let's get to it. How many of you know how to swim? That's amazing. So, swimming is so important because we live on islands here in Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean. So, I've been swimming since the age of about 6 years old. I was also a professional swimmer. And I spent a lot of time in the water. Unfortunately, I do have an inner ear problem, so it stops me from diving, so I could never do scuba, but it doesn't stop me from going into the water as many times as I can. And so my focus has always been on ocean literacy, which is an understanding of the ocean's influence on you and your influence on the ocean. Because I think you all know already, the environment is all around us. It has been formed over many millennia, and everything around us has shaped us ourselves. So like we breathe oxygen in the air, and we need water to survive because our cells are made up mostly of water. And also the earth itself is one big ocean that is made up of water. 71% of the surface of the earth is covered by water, and of that water, most of it is salty. So salt water is a huge part of the surface of the earth, and it's very important that we remember that, it does regulate a lot of the things on our planet. So think about us living on Earth. We need oxygen to breathe, right? And you think of, the forests and the trees are the ones that make the oxygen, but that's not true. It's actually the ocean that made up most of the oxygen that we survive on. So it's really interesting that, algae and phytoplankton and kelp and all of these marine species of photosynthetic organisms, they are the ones that made up most of the oxygen that we breathe. Isn't that cool? Then I know climate is like a big buzzword right now, and climate is everything in the air, the atmosphere around the earth. And the ocean is a major influence on climate and weather and the water cycle. So everybody here knows about the water cycle, I'm sure, right? It's all about heat, making water into vapor, the different the different like rain, precipitation and stuff like that. And it just goes in a cycle round and round. And without the ocean, which is the biggest amount of water on the planet, there is no water cycle. And then also the ocean supports a great diversity of life, right? And ecosystems. So we're seeing a dolphin here. I don't know if any of you have seen dolphins in the wild in Trinidad and Tobago. But dolphins and whales and marine mammals are just one of billions of species that live in the oceans, that some of them we haven't even discovered yet. So it's amazing to know that every single time there's a dive deep down into the sea, there's always new species that are being discovered. The ocean and life in the ocean shape the features of the earth. So for example, let's think about this. Do you know that there are beaches, there are cliffs, there are mangroves, there are estuaries, there's so many different parts of the ocean. There's coral reefs, there's seagrass beds, and the ocean is such a diverse wonderland. It's like every time you go inside, you're going to see something different. So again, oceans and humans are inextricably connected. So think about it this way. We live on an island, so the ocean is all around us, and we depend on it for everything. We depend on it for food, we depend on it for work, we depend on it for, just everything. It's amazing. And if you have sea level rise, like this person in this picture is holding this placard, we're actually going to be affected because salt water is going to come into land. We're going to have erosion. And, it's funny because we think that we know so much, but the ocean is largely unexplored. We haven't seen much of the ocean. There's only been recently enough funding available to go down in submarines and look at, the seabed and the seafloor and see what's down there. But then we have to remember as well that every time we dive down, we're going to disturb nature and its natural processes, how it flows, how everything is. And so it's really important for us to understand our importance on preserving these marine ecosystems. Humans are doing some really bad things to the ocean because of our activities. So, for example, seabed mining, coastal development, sedimentation, diseases, invasive species. I know you all must know an invasive species right there in Tobago. Overfishing, marine pollution, ocean acidification, climate change. It sounds like so much that we're doing. Every single thing that we do affects the ocean. And we have to remember that it affects us in return. So, for us to make a positive difference and become ocean literate, we have to do some things. So, ocean literacy, like we said, was understanding how the ocean impacts us and how we impact the ocean in return so that we can protect it over time. So, if we think really, really hard, what are some things that you would have to look at in order to become ocean literate? So let's go through some of them. I think personally that everything has to have a scientific foundation. If we don't have the science, which is, doing tests and understanding exactly how something works, we're never going to understand it in the correct way. We have to also have the historical perspective. So, for example, if something had happened, in a past time, then there's geography, gender equality, value, culture, sustainability. It's so many different things we have to look at the ocean. We have to look at it for food, climate, minerals, the atmosphere, medicine, mental health, and inspiration. I know that that's one that I focus on quite a lot. Recreation, I love to go to the beach. You just feel healed when you go to the salt water. Then livelihoods, transportation, water. Can you think of any more that I'm missing here? Think really hard. The ocean is boundless. There's so much that it does for us as well. And so how do we protect it? Can you think of any of the ways that we could protect it from all the things that we said we are impacting our oceans doing, pollution, transport? How do we protect it? How are we going to stop impacting it negatively within our own actions? Because remember, everything that is not of nature is of man. So we are the ones that are forming, things, little problems we're doing because of the things that we're doing for ourselves. Right? So the first thing I would say is that we have to learn about the ocean and how to protect it. That's the first step on how we protect the ocean. We have to learn about it. We have to find out things from books, from films, from records, but make sure that everything has a scientific foundation. We want to make sure that everything is the way that it should be, correctly done and with as much information as possible. Yeah? Yes. So we also take personal actions. Yes, it's not all our fault. We're not the ones who are dumping tons of plastic into the ocean or creating the plastic in the first place, but we do use it. That is just one of the many, many things that we do that affects the ocean. So we have to think about it. Do we protect the sea when we go to the sea and litter? Do we, pick up after ourselves? Do we try to take other modes of transportation? Those are the kinds of things that I'm thinking about. Then we also have to advocate for local, national, and regional action. Because like I said, it's not just on one person. It's when multiple millions of people are doing the same thing. So one bottle that I may have, left on the beach by mistake could be that each of 1 million people leave that bottle on the beach. That's 1 million bottles. So every little action from each of us, it does make a difference. And it's up to the government sometimes and the decision makers to help along the way. But for me, the little way that I can do it, I actually write children's books. So the way that I advocate is that I use a multi-systematic approach. So yes, I come to schools, I speak about the ocean and how to protect it, but I also join a lot of, governmental programs. If it is that they have like what they call public consultations, and you talk about what you would like to see to protect the ocean. And what I would always like to leave you with is that you have to follow your dreams and as ethically and sustainably as possible. And that means that you are in control of all the things that you want to do. Never be afraid to do anything. So like, for example, for myself, I didn't create Mertrina until I was much older because I was focusing on my career. But the things that we love in our youth, when we're little, the things that you love right now, those are the things that are going to carry you through the rest of your life. When things get tough and, you want to do something to change the world for the better, remember that everything that you're passionate about now is going to follow you through to the future. So thank you so much. I'm hoping that you learned quite a lot in a very short space of time. And thank you so much for your attention. And this is Mertrina signing off. Bye.